Hi, this is Tapcat. Welcome back for my latest Q&A video. We're going to get started straight away. So Straight White Male asks, have I ever heard of or played FTL before? And if so, would I do a Let's Play on it? Well, not only would I, but if you check my playlists, you will see that I have uploaded a number of FTL videos. Chris P. asks, has anyone ever told me that my voice sounds exactly like a mix of Tom Hanks and Kevin Smith? No, not exactly, but what I have heard many times is that I sound like Tom Hanks, and I have heard many times that I sound like Kevin Smith. So you are just the first person to link those two together. Young Tuesday asks how tall I am, and the answer is 6 feet tall. No Land Beyond asks if I would consider streaming on sites such as YouTube or Twitch. And I would and have considered it. And in some ways, I have been tempted to do it. I've talked before about how, my life isn't really structured very well for streaming. Sometimes I have to work at night, and I don't always have a lot of notice when that's going to be. And anyway, like that stuff aside, though, I also, the more I think about it, streaming is kind of the opposite direction of what I probably need to do. And by that, what I mean is when I think about what I'm best at, it's probably the scripted videos that I've done. Like when I was working on the XCOM 2 pre-release videos, and I would do a lot of research, and then I would write a script and record it and edit it and everything. And it was really tight. I think that if I were just looking at what do I do best, and also what brings, viewers to the channel and stuff, it's things like that. It's the guides and other pre-scripted material. The Let's Plays I would say, less good at, although obviously some people still enjoy that material. I enjoy making it, and I enjoy making Let's Plays a lot, which is why that's most of the content I've ever uploaded to the channel. And then I feel like, though, my weaknesses as a Let's Player, like the way I'll be trying to talk, right? I'll be trying to describe something, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure something out that's going on in the game, or like, what do I want to equip on this character, or what do I want to do? And it's very hard for me a lot of times to still keep talking in a, nice smooth pattern and everything. I lose my train of thought because my mind is going down the rabbit hole of playing the game. Streaming would add another thing to that, which is the chat. So now not only do I have to worry about two things, I have this whole other thing. And if I completely ignore the chat, why the hell am I streaming in the first place? Because that would be the fun of it for me, right? Is like a chance to talk to you guys and interact with you while I play. But I think it would make it much harder for me to either play halfway decently or comment halfway decently. So I'm not going to sit here and say I will never stream, but I don't have any intention of doing it. I don't have any, thought that that's the direction I should move in, other than the fact that I am a little anxious about YouTube's future as a video on demand platform, and particularly for small creators and the gaming community. I could see that becoming a problem at some point in the future where it may not be viable to continue, and I will be left with the choice of streaming or nothing. That's possible. But that is a problem for another day, and I will now move on to the next question from Peter Pan, who asks if I'll ever do a face reveal, and I have no plans whatsoever to do that. Blue asks in a pretty tongue-in-cheek way why he is a loyal viewer for a long time, did not get a Darkest Dungeon character named after him. And the answer to that is very simple, because the RNG that I used does not play favorites based on seniority. I added everybody who asked, I put their name on a list, and then I think the name of the site was rng.org. And I just enter the numbers, and I don't actually want to play favorites and decide who gets what. So I know you were saying it in kind of a teasing way, but I thought I'd give a serious answer for anyone who turned in their name and they haven't been picked. By the way, a lot of people who turned in their names late have been shut out simply because I had already, pretty much picked a lot of names, and we haven't really had deaths. Like up to this point, there has been one character who died. Obviously, if I had more characters falling, I would need more new recruits. So, all right, Blake Norton asks how many hours I have on XCOM 2 and XCOM Enemy Unknown. And the answer is 600 on XCOM 2 and 300 on Enemy Unknown. And do I have a Discord server? I don't. I actually have looked at it. Here's, I guess, part of the problem. I know virtually nothing about them. I have a vague understanding of what they are, but I've never even been a member or able to log on to one. So I have only a vague idea. And it just comes down to, I have a job and YouTube is a thing I do in my quote spare time. And I only have so much of it. And so what I tend to focus on is making videos for you guys and making them as good as I can. And that also involves combing through video footage to get the right screen capture that I can edit into a thumbnail. And sometimes the first couple you take end up not really being very good. So I have to keep looking and there's a million things that if you don't have a YouTube channel, you don't think about. But if you do have one, you get to spend time on them. And they're not necessarily things that you enjoy or you would necessarily find interesting. But you need to do it if you want to have a channel. So a Discord server is something I wouldn't mind doing, but it's just more time. I have to wrap my mind around what it is. What do I need to buy? What do I need to do? And then I have a whole other thing I have to administer and be a part of. And honestly, I don't really have the time or the mental bandwidth right now to take on another whole project. I'm not saying it's not smart to have one, but I'm not really there right now. So next question from Aber Garcia. So he asks if I like any real-time strategy games like StarCraft, Warcraft, Age of Empires. I guess the answer is not really, but I have played a handful. Rise of Nations, I think, was the first RTS I tried my hand at. I did enjoy it for a while, and then at some point I stopped playing, before the end of the campaign, because it just got too repetitive. And then I also played Warcraft 3, and I played all the way, there's kind of 4 segments of the campaign as you play the different races. I made it through the 3rd, which was Undead, and then I got to the Night Elves, which was the 4th and final one. How can I say this? I really disliked what the story made me do, starting when you're the humans, and I'm going to give some story spoilers for Warcraft 3. It's an old game, but if you ever want to play it, you might want to tune out for the next couple of minutes. So as Arthas is losing his mind, and some of the things he does, while I understand why he does it, I did not enjoy doing that. And then that flowed into the undead portion where you're doing a lot of despicable things to the night elves and humans, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. So here's the thing, I don't play games to be the bad guy, especially when it's not done in a tongue-in-cheek way. It was done in a very serious way. And so by the time I got to the Night Elf portion of the campaign where I could kind of be the good guy again, I was wore out and I was kind of done with the game mentally. So the first mission that I hit that represented any challenge whatsoever, I just quit. And that was that. I don't think at the time I quit, I thought I'll never play this again, but I just didn't care about continuing and I never loaded it again. And that was it. The only other RTS that I have ever tried was Company of Heroes. And again, like Rise of Nations, I enjoyed it a lot for a while. And then at a certain point, the repetition just kind of got to me and I stopped. And I don't know what percentage of the campaign I had made it through. It was a decent amount of time that I spent in it though. So I'm always drawn to real-time strategy games. When I see one, I'll go, wow, that looks really cool. But for whatever reason, they don't sink their teeth into me in the same way that some turn-based strategy games do. So there's a very long answer to your question, but there you go. Darkstorm 444 asks, when do I think XCOM 3 will come out and what things would I want in there? Based on the amount of time between XCOM Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2. I would guess that sometime in 2019 is when we would see an XCOM 3. I would not be at all surprised if it was 2020. I do think we will get another one because I know XCOM 2, it sold well. As far as what I want to see in there, I don't really know. I think the biggest thing for me, I would just really like a rock solid XCOM game. Fix the bugs, man. Like, seriously. I would like that above all else. Big Brand Theory asks if I plan on making a playthrough of either Into the Breach or one of the Dark Souls games, and says he'd love to see me playing Dark Souls 1. Well, good news for you, because when Dark Souls Remastered is released in late May, I have every intention of playing that and recording it for the channel. So unless I play it and it's just a buggy mess, that's probably what I will do. As for Into the Breach, I'm very interested in it. I did enjoy FTL. I didn't go as far down that rabbit hole as some people did, but I spent a number of hours playing it, and I did enjoy the game. I will happily look at Into the Breach. Right now, because I'm in the middle of a long series, I'm kind of just focusing on Darkest Dungeon. So I have not bought Into the Breach, let alone played it, but I will. I will at least try the game and get a sense of whether it's something I would want to do. Lohan Hans asked, what am I going to do after Darkest Dungeon? Will I take a short break or start a new series as soon as possible? So that's kind of related to the question I just asked, but not quite, because there will be some period of time after Darkest Dungeon and before Dark Souls. The answer is I don't know for sure what's going to happen. One thing that I'm seriously considering doing is playing the Banner Saga, because when I had the poll, a lot of people voted for Banner Saga. It was a very close vote. Now, I realize a lot more people would probably be interested in watching me play Into the Breach, just because that's the new thing. I haven't played Into the Breach, as I just said, so I don't know if I'll ever do a series on that. If I try it and I don't like the game, then I'm not ever going to bring it to the channel. That's one thing, like, you'll never see me play a game for the sole purpose of chasing views. If I'm playing a game on the channel, it does happen sometimes that I try it, I like it initially, and then at some point during a series, I go, oh God, what did I get myself into? And I will even then typically keep going because I don't want to be a person who just stops all the time in the middle of a series. But no, like, if I bring a series to the channel, it's because I genuinely believe this is a game I want to play and I want to share with you. So here's what I am going to do though. Barring some unforeseen thing, like, I do intend to make Darkest Dungeon guides. I will probably do that after I finish recording the basic series, but I've recorded quite far ahead and I'm going to keep pushing, partly because I just enjoy playing Darkest Dungeon. So whenever I can, I love to record a couple of installments, in one day. But it might be that rather than having a new Let's Play series between Dark Souls and Darkest Dungeon, it may just be a new guide every few days. So I don't know. I don't have a set plan yet. Kishri Alpha asks if I've ever tried Xenonauts, and the obvious connection there is because, it's similar to XCOM 2, both in terms of gameplay and theme. And that's not an accident because, of course, the people who made Xenonauts, it's not so much XCOM 2 or XCOM Enemy Unknown. They made no secret. They wanted to make a spiritual successor to the original XCOM game. So to answer your question, I have not played Xenonauts. I've had it at various times on my wish list for Steam, but I usually end up deleting it. And the reason why is I don't really want to go back and play either the original XCOM, where you can like literally step outside your ship that you landed in and get shot in the head and die from an alien that you can't even see. Or a game who models itself after that type of gameplay, as opposed to maybe a little bit more, I hate to use the word modern, but a different sensibility when it comes to the more recent XCOM games, Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2. I don't think I want to, I either want to play something different or something that builds on where Firaxis is at and not go back to the game design of the original games. Some people may prefer that. I'm pretty sure I would like it less. So I haven't played it, and if I had to bet right now, I probably won't. That said, I am going to be looking at Xenonauts 2. So if that's a contradictory statement, so be it. But I am at least curious about it, and I'll check it out. Texas Belliot asks if I've ever considered starting a Patreon account. And I have. I haven't done it for a variety of reasons, partly because I know that if I did it, there would be some number of subscribers who would happily do it. And that is, of course, a nice thing, right? That's a plus. But it isn't something that I need to do financially. And it would not be enough for me to quit my job and just do YouTube full time. And I guess part of it is I don't just want to do a Patreon and say, hey, if you want to, go ahead and sign up. If I ever do a Patreon, I would really like to offer something extra to the people who supported me in that way. And I would also like it to be a situation where at least potentially that support could mean that I could quit my job and do YouTube full time, so that part of what I would be offering not only the patrons, but everybody, is that, hey, if enough of you do this, I can do more. Like, not just a new installment of a series roughly once a day, but like, what if it was 1 or 2 series running all the time and a guide every week or something like that? And then on top of that, having the ability to do, like, maybe it would be a Discord server or whatever, but put time into other things that would benefit the people who were contributing directly. But as if I did it right now, because the other thing is, like, there's also people who just get very angry if you have a Patreon account. And it's kind of bizarre to me, but that's the reality of it. And I guess I just don't need any more trolls or grief than I already get from the channel. And so I haven't done it. Someday I may, but not anytime real soon, I don't think. Cosy Strats Gaming asks, why did I choose my logo? And why does the intro always say solving games one video at a time? It's just part of trying to let people who are new to the channel get a sense of what I'm trying to do here. You know, like fitting together the puzzle pieces. I'm trying to play games that are mentally challenging in some way. And whether it's a guide or whether it's a Let's Play series, I am always trying to solve the game. And more than that, I'm trying to help you solve the game. I think that one of the things that makes my channel different is the extent to which I explain why I'm doing things the way I'm doing it. You may choose to emulate that. You may not. A lot of people don't necessarily agree with my approach, but at least you know it. You can understand it. And so I try to use imagery and words in, that introductory stuff to help reinforce that. Alexander Toth asks if there's any new games I would like to play on the channel, and will I play XCOM 2 War of the Chosen again? So let me answer the second half of that first. Anything is possible, but I have no intention or plan to play War of the Chosen again. I don't know if I'll play XCOM 2 again in any form, but I will say that if I did, it would almost certainly not be War of the Chosen. I would go back to the base game. And I mean the base game. I don't think I will ever play with any of the DLC again, barring just like cosmetic stuff. Regarding new games that I would like to play for the channel, I mentioned Into the Breach. A couple people asked me about that. I'm at least interested in that. I'm also interested in the Darkest Dungeon DLC that's coming out a little later this year. But I would say the one game that probably interests me more than any other, which again is not out yet, is Phantom Doctrine. It's a little bit of XCOM, a little bit of espionage and spying, and then in like a Cold War environment and stuff. I'm definitely curious about that one. So I would never know until I play a game if I'm going to like it, but that's one I definitely want to take a look at. Molly asks if I've ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And I have not, because that's not the kind of story that Jedi would tell, and I don't listen to the Sith. Content Surprise asks, what's my fondest video game memory from childhood? And I thought about that for a little bit. I think the answer, it's not so much about a particular game as it is that there was a time when I used to be able to play video games like with other people in the same room. And so that might involve multiplayer where we're all, controlling something at once, or even if we were just taking turns playing, being in the same room, having fun together and sharing that experience. That's probably what I really remember most fondly. That was, like a variety of games that we did that with. But that's what I miss, I guess, because nowadays that's not really a thing that's going to happen. I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of your name, but it's Echo Stevens or something like that. Asks, what would I consider a good viewer count on a first episode of a Let's Play, like the middle and the end? The follow-up question is, do I like mustard on my hot dogs? Because he couldn't continue supporting anyone who likes ketchup on a hot dog. All right, well, let's take these in order. So as far as a good viewer count goes, I'm still kind of adjusting to how much my channel has grown in the last year or so, because for a long time I had in the vicinity of 1,000 subscribers. And so in that era, if I could just keep it over 100 views through to the end of the series, I was happy. It was like, okay, that's cool. I have some people who give a damn. Thank you very much. And especially if there's comments coming in too. Now, more recently, of course, we've grown, and so now there's over 14,000 subscribers. Still a very small channel, but it's a lot more than 1,000. So here's the honest truth. For me nowadays, it isn't really the number that I care about. It's how many people stay with the series from beginning to end. Because inevitably what you see is drop off. Every channel has this. This is not unique to mine. But if you are entertaining enough or interesting enough or, whatever it is that keeps people coming back, you can have a significantly less drop off. So for example, not my most recent series of XCOM 2, which got far more views, but more drop off. Season 4 of XCOM 2 was probably in my eyes, the best series I've ever done. And it had the highest percentage keep watching from beginning to end. And so that made me very happy. I put a lot of effort into that series and I did some things differently, and I was really happy with it myself. And the fact that the audience responded to that and stayed with the series in such high numbers it just felt so good. So even though season 5, because my subscriber count had gone up massively between the two, season 5 has far more views. It also has a bigger drop off from beginning to end. I was less satisfied with it from a purely creative standpoint, and viewers were less engaged or less committed is maybe a better word. So yeah, that's really it for me. Like lately I've noticed the numbers on Darkest Dungeon, are dropping fairly rapidly. I kind of always expected that because it's a really long game. And so that's what always makes me wince a little bit is like, when whatever number you're at, like let's say you're at 500 viewers and then for whatever reason, the next one gets 400 and it never goes up from there. It only keeps drifting down. And you go, geez, like, what the heck did I say or not say that drove so many people away? So anyway, there's my answer. As for mustard versus ketchup, I guess I have good news and bad news. No, I don't eat mustard on my hot dog, but I also don't eat ketchup on it. I eat hot dogs plain. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks very much if you submitted a question, and thank you for watching. I hope we see you next time.